We have all been in this position before, where this leads to this. Since the beginning of time, actually, since the beginning of the 19th century, public schools have had two sides showing how to assess a student's knowledge of a specific course. One side has been the traditional grading system, which we are already familiar with, and the other is based on a mastery system like that of Sweden. Regardless of the country, the reason for grading systems is to get a general idea of where students stand along their path of learning the knowledge that they need to learn to obtain a mastery level of a certain subject. Usually a lower grade represents a lack of understanding in a subject and gives the teacher a heads up on what they might need to go over or maybe concentrate more on throughout a lesson. A higher grade in the class goes to show an understanding or comfortability with the subject and allows the instructor to move on knowing that the information has been taught. So which grading system best represents the knowledge of the students? Which system is most fair to both the student and the teacher? Is one even better than the other? Can a compromise be made to benefit everyone's needs as best as possible? Let's find out.
Throughout history, American classrooms have had the traditional A through F grading scale. Within this system, an A represents the highest mastery of a subject, and an F represents little understanding of the subject. This method makes it easy to see which subjects or lessons a student is excelling and which they are failing. Teachers are able to plan a set, organized lesson plan at the beginning of the year of exactly when, how, and what they're going to teach, which gives all students an equal opportunity to expand their knowledge and prove their intelligence. The A through F grading scale establishes a fair and systematic structure that holds schools accountable for student knowledge and academic growth. This grading system is essential to colleges determining student admission because it allows them to see a student's academic progress and subject strengths and weaknesses from their entire high school career on one sheet of paper.
While the United States has a grading scale, A through F, where a final assessment determines their letter grade, there are other parts of the world where development of learning is not based solely upon this one attempt. Instead, grades are reflected over the absolute mastery of the course, often by using a ladder method. Sweden, for example, uses this method. Yes, their grades do consist of VG, G, or U, which resembles the United States as VG equals a 90 to 100, G being the equivalent of a 60 to 89, and U being a 0 to 59, often known as the dreaded failing. But what Sweden allows is the ability to retake the course and relearn the criteria until the student has mastered the course, only then moving on to the next level, or higher up the ladder in the ladder method analogy. With this, Sweden brings into perspective that knowledge should not be solely based on grades, but that it should be based upon a mastery of each class's criteria of skills. This allows a deeper understanding and better representation of where an individual student is versus an entire group as the A through F system has. The latter method is also better for the teacher because the end of the semester reflection is much more positive as more students pass, meaning the teacher has a better reflection of his or her teaching.
Both grading systems are effective for their own reasons. The mastery system is effective by having the students get a better understanding of what they are learning and doing it at their own pace. But with this, teachers would not have an organized plan for the school year due to students working at different levels at different times. While the traditional grading system can give an easy assessment for both student and teacher to comprehend their progression over time, this grading method can put any student under pressure and pushes them to the point of giving up due to the lack of understanding. However, there can be a compromise to both systems. Let me explain. The Blind Side features a student named Michael Orr who had grown up not caring about school at all, and it carried on when he went to Wingate Christian School, who didn't even consider him because of how low his GPA was, thus a problem with the A through F system. To get Michael to improve in school, he and the teacher both dedicated their time and efforts to improve his grades. It took some time, but taking it step by step, Michael slowly started to understand what he never learned, and with this, he was able to raise his grades for the traditional grading system, which also moved him further up the ladder method. You also see this happening in the Freedom Riders, where not only one, but all of the students had no motivation to learn, thus failing grades, thus a problem with the A through F system. The students of room 203 at Woodrow Wilson Classic High School were not going to graduate until Miss Gruel came. She changed the perspective of all the students. She took things at different angles by bringing in new opportunities to intrigue them and taking it slow from then on. This helps show the ladder method because taking the learning step by step allowed the students to have an interest in the learning, thus motivating them to excel, moving them higher in the ladder method. Both movies showed that all it takes is dedication from both the student and teacher. With the mastery system, these students could learn at their own pace, moving them higher in the ladder method, which ultimately moves their A through F grade in the traditional method. With the A through F system could be compromised to only A through F, as the ladder method would not allow any student to really fail. This is significant because every student is different and works at their own pace. All that matters is students are learning and actually understanding the material that is given to them, because being successful in school can lead to being successful later on.